All right. Oh my God, we're actually live. I've only used this for Zoom calls, so I have no clue like what the quality is going to sound like. I can't imagine it's like truly that atrocious, but we can certainly figure it out later. Let me know if you guys can't hear me or if there's an issue. Although I do believe everything's going through. I'm at my girlfriend's house this morning. That's why the background's clearly different. Also, like straight up low key, dude, this $100 bill is hilarious. Like I've been giving her so much shit for it. It's so funny. Um, when we're looking at the race today, realistically, there aren't, and I mean, I'm not going to show anything on screen because I'm just on my laptop and stuff today. Um, but when we're looking at these back markers, I mean, this is a pretty fun slate. Realistically, I don't think there's a reason to play anybody from 19th on up. And this isn't just, the standard, let's stack from the back or whatnot. But when you look at the back of the field, you have Busher, Bell, Bowman, Truex, Bubba Wallace, Chastain, Suarez, Stenhouse, Chase Briscoe, Haley, um, and LaJoy. Like just those guys there are like phenomenal plays, right? Like luckily, now that we've gotten the Cup Series to the point where we don't have a bunch of like like true back markers, right? Guys who like don't deserve to be racing or anything. Um, we don't like we don't have back markers. Like there's no bad teams here, and if there are bad teams, I mean you got like idiot Alfredo, starting in a place that we don't have to worry about him. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure. Let me check. Am I an idiot? Where did Alfredo queue? I just did this stuff and I don't. Oh, he started 33rd. I don't. Oh, Hemrick. Okay, I was like, dude, I know one of these idiots qualified top 10. Like Hemrick is usually a fantastic play. Guy Q 10th, like that would be like your back marker, like the Collie cars, the Legacy Motorsports cars, the Spire, and like Rick Ware. You know, and then like you have the 44. Like JJ Yaley is the only guy that I'm actually like somewhat worried about. At not finishing the race. Now, when we look back at this 44, which I have not done, I'm going to do this actually live. All I'm going to do is just go to Racing Reference, and I just want to see how many issues they've had this year because I'm pretty sure they have not finished a race. I could be like completely wrong, but that is the one thing I do want to check really fast because I do not recall off the top of my head. I know for a fact they had an issue last week when they ran at Kansas or whenever they last ran an intermediate track this year. Let me see. Pretty sure they ran Kansas. Let me check. Yeah, so Yaley ran Kansas and they had an electrical issue. But when you look at this 44 car, they were running at the end at Daytona. Holy God, I do not remember that. And they finished 20th. That's actually insane. And they finished 23rd at Atlanta. So maybe my worries aren't warranted. In my mind, they had a lot more issues. So like I was originally going to be like straight up. I was originally going to be at like 15%, 20% Yaley. I mean, at this point, you could probably bring it up like 30. Like he'd probably be the least guy I'm going to have in the back because he has, the concern. At least my biggest concern, the guys in the back. Oh, thank you, McGee. I appreciate that for letting me know. Or Flyer, that is. Sorry, I didn't mean to just dox you. But we look at the back, like BJ's going to run. When we look at where everybody's expected to run, I mean, McLeod's going to run up front. We know that for sure. I don't really see him riding too much, especially now that he just has like FU money. Like there's no reason for him to just ride. But BJ's still a fantastic play. I have no issue with the Spire cars. I mean, when you're looking at where, like, I mean, team stacking today should be like really freaking easy, right? You have Haley, Hocevar, and Smith already in the back of the field. They're going to run together. Those teams or those drivers are correlated. There's no way they go off the beaten path and they're not together. And if anything, they'll merge with the Chevy Brigade during the pit stops and everything. Look, Alfredo most likely just going to ride with tire cars. Okay. The big issue with Alfredo is he wants to run up front no matter what he does. So that does like have unwarranted like risk attached to Anthony Alfredo for really no reason. Like more so than normal. Like I stated with Noah, with Brennan Gaughan, even with Parker, these guys would ride in the 62 car. And I just don't like the way Alfredo races plate races at all. He's like far too aggressive. He races up front far too much from what I want from a driver. So that's the main thing with Alfredo. But when we look at the chalk back here, like I said, I think it's Bell, Bubba Wallace, Chastain, Suarez, Stenhouse. I mean, those are probably the most 5. And then you add Briscoe on there. Like those are your 6 probably most popular guys back here. You then, in terms of like good teams or in terms of what they can do, right? Once you get past that, like that's your first 6 cars. Then you go to who's actually a good plate racer and who's actually optimal. You then throw in Haley, Corey LaJoy, Cody Ware, Hocevar into that mix. So like I just don't see a reason why you would play anybody from like 20th on or 19th forward. I fully believe today the optimal comes from the second half of the pack. Like there's just so many good teams back here, and ownership should be spread out. The only guys, like when I look at where ownership should correlate, it should correlate on Bubba Wallace. It should correlate or centralize on Chastain, on Suarez, probably Briscoe. And it's probably like those guys will probably be like mid 30s. I don't think we're going to see anybody like truly eclipse like 48%. When we look at the last 10 people, it should probably fall in line that it's Briscoe, Haley, Zane Smith, Hocevar, or actually, if it's last 10, should be Stenhouse, Briscoe, Suarez, Hocevar, and then Zane Smith. And so ownership really doesn't matter in the back half or in the last 10. Like normally we at least have to be somewhat, aware of where that ownership's going to come in. I don't see that at all being an issue today. The guys that I'm probably not going to play, I'm not going to play any of the Toyota gang because they're going to be right up front, especially, Bubba Wallace. Like Bubba Wallace is probably going to ride, 6th all day. And then we can just root for Bubba Wallace to, wreck out because that's always fun, right? Like, no, who actually wants Bubba Wallace to win, right? Like he's never won a race, just more fun to, hope Bubba flips, right? Hope Bubbles flips. Like that's all you want to see. But Bubba Wallace, Chastain are probably the 2 guys that I'm not going to play. Suarez is probably the most risky play back here in terms of like actual DNF. Like if I'm looking at guys who are going to DNF in the back of the field, Suarez is probably at the top of that list because he's one of the faster Chevys back here. He's going to be right up front with Chastain and just like I said, the rest of the Chevys. And I think Suarez just flat out DNFs in this race. I just don't think. I'll let the little guys over here. I just don't think Suarez makes it through this race, honestly. So the 3 guys I'm probably not going to play today are Bubba Wallace, Chastain, and Suarez. Everybody else is a go. And due to that, it's going to be really difficult for me to get my normal like 65, 55, 45% on all these people. So I'm probably going to be much more spread out than normal, probably up to Corey LaJoy, because usually I center around like 10 guys, right? But Yaley, I want at least at like 35%, if not 30, right? Zane Smith, Hocevar, Yaley, Cody Ware will probably be the center point of my build today. Like those 4 guys are probably going to be the guys I'm highest on. And then I think by necessity you have to have your secondary tier be the legacy motorsports cars with Nemechek and Jones. I just think you spread out on the back today. I really do. Like I said, I think realistically the optimal is coming from 20th on back. There's just so many good cars back here that I just don't see it not happening. And there's so many good cars back here that are probably going to be running in the top 10. Let me go ahead and at least get that on the screen really fast so we can kind of at least see where these guys are at, so you can see where we're running, or where I have these guys rather. And then I'll go ahead and look at chat. Bobby Sheets and Rody will be live at the top of the hour to talk NFL. I just copied the wrong thing. What the heck? Let's see here. Let's see, place value. Hell yeah, there we go. All right, here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Now it's gonna be horrendous because it's like, oh my god, we're double sharing Restream, right? And I see the Chastain. Okay, not Chastain. Stenhouse is not a pivot, right? Okay, the reason why I haven't mentioned Stenhouse in like the like true like display here. Let's get ready for like the double, spread here. But the reason why I haven't mentioned Chastain is just like the way I look at it is like I think Suarez like D and Qs, right? Or wrecks out in this race. Same thing with Stenhouse. I'll take Stenhouse any day of the week over fucking Suarez. Okay. But Stenhouse, because he's in a good car, good team, good history and stuff. I'd want like 25% Stenhouse. Like that's not a guy that I want more ownership to than just that. Hopefully this is. I could just check on my phone to make sure this is going through. But when we look at the back of the field, I mean, this is where, and notice, even when, I mean, this is projected finish for these guys. Let me make sure this is going through. All right, cool. Like when we look at projected finish, right? Like we're able to see where, a majority of these people should run, right? Or at least, I mean, we could kind of use this more as an average position, but you have like probably the best plate racers in the series right now. Blaney, Keselowski, Reddick, McDowell, Busch wants to be up front, Logano, Hamlin, right? Like those guys are up there. And yet again, I mean, this is 3-3, 4-4, or whatever and stuff. But Suarez, Reddick, and Hamlin got to be together. You're going to have the Ford gang probably be the dominant team. Yet again, we didn't have practice, so we don't exactly know how the additions to the car is really going to help or really going to change the thing. I think it's going to make the top a little bit more OP than normal. And I think there's a pretty big risk of them just running single file on the top again. Could be wrong, but that's kind of where my gut feel is. So, when we start looking at the back of the field here, or at least where people are at, like, as I said, there's a lot of good. I probably should have got the fucking starting position. Let's do that really fast, actually. Didn't mean to show that. Whoops. Let's go ahead and just get this here. Let's do everything here, right? Just so we can kind of see where these fellas are queuing at. All right, so left numbers starting position. And so we get here and we start like, yeah, Suarez probably the best, probably the strongest play outside of Briscoe in the back, right? Suarez, Bell, Bowman, Truex. That's why like the mid-20s today seem pretty likely to carry quite a few optimal drivers today with all the good people there. Chastain, even AJ Allmendinger. And then you look back at the back of where these guys are starting. This is why you want to focus on, Spire Motorsports. Why you want to focus on Legacy Motorsports. The back markers of McLeod, Ware, and Yaley by default have to be the last three guys in this. And yeah, again, this is just running position, not DK points or anything. But that's why like Keselowski is going to be popping up and probably be very popular in quite a lot of lineups, quite a lot of optimizers. Same thing with Reddick. It's the same thing. Like all these guys are pretty correlated with each other. The Toyota Brigade is pretty much going to be right around each other in terms. I mean, this is finishing where I'm giving them all like 7 and 8s and stuff. But if a running position is like this, you have to view it as like how is it being scored, right? Like let's just say this is like straight up a running position at some point in the race. Who's optimal at this point, right? It's Brad, Tyler, probably Byron, Suarez, and then Bubba, Bell, Bowman, and Truex are pushing out possibly people like Larson, possibly people like McDowell, Kyle Busch, and stuff. But that's where you see, a big portion of the 20s and the good guys starting in the 30s, fighting to be optimal and stuff. So I think today you really can't necessarily fade anyone. As I said, personally, for me, I'm not going to be playing Suarez. I'm not going to be playing Bubba Wallace, but that's really the only takes. And I'm probably not going to be playing Suarez. I think everybody else is fair game. Let's see how disgusting this is going to look. But let me see where you guys are at right here. Glad you guys can hear me. What's going on, internet? What's going on, Flyer? What's going on, Kyle? Yeah. See, you got it. You got it, Flyer. You know. Yeah, of course I like them, Tyler. I mean, these guys have won me more money than any of these other bums on this starting grid. Like, I mean, BJ and Cody Ware have literally changed my life. Well, like, why do you think I'm such a big like Cody Ware fan? You know, and yeah, like Joe, like if I like now that we're here, right? You know, we've talked about like who are the people that I'm actually going to play. I literally just said, you know, Spire cars, Legacy cars, Rick Ware. You know, that'll probably be a big portion of what is the foundation of my lineups. And then let me see this grid again really fast. Like in the back, like probably my least favorite guys are probably Yaley, Alfredo, Suarez, Bubba Wallace, Chastain. I mean, everybody else is going to have ownership. Like from 40th to 28th with Chastain, I'm going to have LaJoy, going to have Nemechek, going to have Jones, going to have Stenhouse, going to have Alfredo, even the little percent I have. I'm going to have Ware, Haley, Briscoe, Hocevar. Like team stack, guys, like Jesus Christ. This is a super, super easy slate to team stack. And ideally, when we have the race late in the day, all the Toyota drivers should be up front competing directly against the Ford brigade. That is the Penske and front row crew. Like those guys are going to be together. When we look at the people who are going to be competing directly against them, it's going to be probably Hendrick, RCR, Hendrick, and mainly Kyle Busch, right? So you have the 5-6-ish Ford guys, which most of the time they're not in play with where they're starting. Like we're not playing McDowell, we're not playing Cindric, we're not playing Gillen, right? We're not playing Blaney, we're not playing Logano. So those 5 drivers who are going to maintain run position inside the top 10 all day are just not. We're not even playing them, right? We're expecting them to be involved in the crash. Okay, you then add Keselowski, Buescher to that. That's a good portion of probably the top 15 there at any given time. We then move to Toyota with Joe Gibbs, which like it doesn't matter where Truex runs, he's just been involved in crashes. But we have the 2311 boys, Hamlin, Bell, Gibbs, Truex. I mean, we're at 6 there. Combine that with the 7 Fords. I mean, at that point, that's like a good portion of the top 10. You then add, as I said, Kyle Busch, Larson, Byron, Bowman, probably Chastain and Suarez. I mean, that's your top 15, right? Like those are the people that you want to avoid because they're most likely the guys all right up front. Now we've identified that we're like the outcome of McDowell, Cindric, Gill, and Blaney, Logano do not matter for DFS, right? Like they're starting too high up. We're not playing them. So like that's already a fade there, or that's already like why we're not playing them. When we start looking at the people that we don't want to play from a DFS perspective, it's then the guys in the 20s that fall in that top 15. As I said, the Toyota guys, the Keselowski, Buescher, Bubba Wallace, Chastain, Suarez, because those are in play. Those are people that are in play for DFS that we probably want to be underweight on because they're most likely going to be up front. And then you just work backwards. Then also you don't include Legacy because they typically don't run with the Joe Gibbs cars. Like they typically aren't in that play. They're typically outside the top 20. Like usually they're like 23rd, 25th, 27th, right? Now Jones might do his own thing and run up front more than Nemechek will. But I don't include Legacy when I'm talking Toyotas because they're just so bad. Like, dude, even Toyota doesn't even want them, right? But that's how you visualize of, okay, who's going to be involved in a crash? Who has the most likely outcome of being involved in a crash? And then you relay that with ownership. It's like, yeah, I probably don't want to play Suarez. I probably want to be very light on Bubba Wallace. yes, their likelihood of being optimal is very high today, but from a tournament perspective, that's people you don't want to play. And I mean that's really my 2 cents there. Let's see. From 25th, are you having? I mean, I'm trying to answer all this. Also, like Kyle, I feel like I'm answering this pretty correctly. I mean, I haven't built my lines yet. 20th to 25th. I mean, I'm not going to play anybody from 20th to 25th today. And then literally internet, like I'm not playing anybody in the top 20. You know, like you guys should. These are questions you shouldn't be asking because you guys already know the answers. You know. But I do believe. I mean that's really about it. That's how I'm looking to approach this race, and I do believe like that's it. I don't really see a reason to do anything different. Trying to think of other things, but I don't think there is. I think that's pretty much my approach. Also, check out these drums back here, man. Drums are freaking cool. Past that, I think that's really about it. Hope you guys have a good day. NFL show live top of the hour. If you have any questions and you're in the Discord, I mean, I'll answer. If you tweet at me, probably not going to be very responsive on Twitter today. But I mean, that's basically it. That's my walkthrough of how I view the slate. See you guys later. Best of luck. And yeah, let's hope Bubbles crashes. Okay. I want to see some angry people on Twitter basically just being racist towards Bubba Wallace when he crashes the field. See you guys later. Also, I'm not playing NFL, so like stack Lamar Henry. I have no clue what you're even talking about. You could be talking about like badminton. Don't even know what you're talking about. See you guys later.